I'm using a Mac. You can do this in a Linux environment, and if you're using Windows, it's often best to use a Vagrant box, so you basically have Linux inside your Windows. PHP from the command line is very powerful. You just type in PHP, and then you'll have a switch. First one that's good to know is V, version, to see which kind you have, which version you have. On my machine, I have 5.531. This is the one that's installed in my Mac operating system. You can also get additional information about your PHP installation from the command line. That's the same as PHP info, so you can all your various settings that you have. If you're not sure what to do, PHP-H for help, or dash question mark, or double dash help for help. And this will show you all the different switches that you can add when you're using PHP from the command line. There's the inline style, there's interactive style, and you can also execute files. And when you stack this capability together, you have a very powerful system. Okay, the first way we can do this is using the inline method. So you could type PHP-R, and then inside quotes you can write some PHP code. So simply echo hello there, close quote, return there. But I see that I didn't have a new line, and so it just went right back to my prompt. So let's add the new line. So I can hit up arrow and then just add my new line inside there. Much better. Okay, that's one way that you can do it. This is handy if you want to maybe test the value of a function. So for example, I'm going to paste in a function from somewhere else. Okay, so if I'm not really sure what the command is going to do, and I'm not sure what my substring is going to do, if I have different arguments, I have 2, 4, so it's going to start on the 0, 1, 2, and go 4 characters from there. So if I wasn't sure about the substring command, I was like, oh, I don't want those characters. I made a mistake. I'm going to start here and collect 5, and I really want to get those characters. That's what I have. So that's one way to use this inline way. The second way is to use interactive. And what interactive shell does is it turns on the PHP interpreter and lets you basically write a program and it'll execute it as it goes. So PHP A, and it will tell you interactive shell. Not every version of PHP is compiled with this, but most are by default. So now we can write a little program. We can set a variable, another variable, and this should tell us 6. The variables are there, so it's all part of a session, and you can type longer programs. It's a fully functional PHP, so you can make classes and all kinds of things if you would like to execute that way. You got a little Vimy there, so you type exit and you're back out on the command line. The third way is quite powerful when you're using cron jobs and you can execute things on a schedule. This is going to be interpreting a file, executing a file. So let's open a file here. We're going to create a file. We'll call it test.php. For those of you not familiar with Vim, it's not super hard. It's just a text editor that's built in everywhere. So we'll start a PHP. We'll make an echo in test file and a new line, which is good on the command line. This new line, by the way, only works inside double quotes. Single quotes you'll just C/N, so it's kind of odd, but you'll do it once and you'll realize what's going on. So let's watch this happen. And so do PHP. Now this switch is F, and we'll type the name of our test file, and there we go, in test file. One of the more powerful things about this is you can add arguments. So let's go back into this. So when we're in our test file, there's a special reserved variable called argv, which is the arguments that come in on the command line. We'll see how this works. So let's echo a var dump. So this will explain what's going on with our variables. argv. And let's go back out to our command line. Okay, so here we have it echoed out in test file, and the file name itself is an input to the file. So let's try something else. Okay, so I'm just adding input to the file, and it will show us that we have an argument here. So what this means is that when you're running this application, and if your file, instead of simply being a test file, actually did something, you could send an email to somebody on a schedule or do anything like that. So let's see how this will work. To save some time, we'll just say we'll have code that will send an email. So we're going to echo sending email to, and then we're going to do the second, because remember the first one is the file name. Now let's add our little new line in there so it looks a little cleaner. And now let's try this out. Okay, so we're going to do PHP file test.php, and then we'll put in an email address. That probably goes to somebody. We'll hit return, and this will send email. So when you get an automated system together, you can have very powerful files running and doing your bidding on a schedule by executing these commands from your Linux shell. Thanks a lot for watching.